No child should die in the dawn of life. Those words were spoken by Danny Thomas, the founder of the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. In 1962, the survival rate for children diagnosed with cancer was 20%. Danny Thomas founded the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and his impact on juvenile cancer research and treatment has been great and paramount. For this discussion, I want to pay tribute to Mr. Thomas, and I researched Mr. Thomas and the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Mr. Thomas vowed to pay homage to St. Jude Thaddeus, the patron saint of hopeless causes. As a parent myself, knowing the amount of lives he's saved is deserving of his tribute. I couldn't imagine hearing the 4 words, "Your child has cancer." Dave Thomas was born on January 6, 1912. He was one of 9 children to devout Catholic Lebanese immigrant parents, and he was raised in Toledo, Ohio. As a young adult, he wanted to be an entertainer, and he struggled to do so. He worked the circuit doing comedy in Chicago nightclubs. In 1940, his wife was expecting their first child. The cost of the hospital stay to deliver the child was $75. Mr. Thomas had $10 to his name. He went to church, and the sermon that week was about St. Jude Thaddeus, the patron saint of hopeless causes. He prayed to St. Jude that weekend, and he said, "Show me my way in life, and I will build you a shrine." And he put $6 of his last $10 into the church envelope that week. The next day, he got a job. He was offered a radio spot, and the pay was $75. From that moment on, he became successful. He was successful in radio, film, and television. Most notably, his show Make Room for Daddy, which ran from 1953 till 1965. Joseph Simone wrote in the 2003 British Journal of Hematology that in 1950, after his success, he began the process of keeping his vow to St. Jude, and he met with Cardinal Stritch, who was the Archbishop of Chicago at the time. Cardinal Stritch confirmed Mr. Thomas when he was a child and had been a pastor in Tennessee earlier. They agreed that the proper tribute would be a children's hospital focusing on children with catastrophic illness and hopeless causes. They felt that that would be an excellent tribute to St. Jude, and they also agreed that Memphis, Tennessee should be where it was located. Mr. Thomas said there are 2 kinds of people: the givers and the takers. The takers may eat better, but the givers always sleep better. He started fundraising and planning, and he spent the next 10 years fundraising tirelessly throughout the country. At one point, he even visited 28 cities in 32 days with his wife. He called upon his Hollywood friends. He had help from Bob Hope, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, and George Burns, just to name a few. Ultimately, he was successful, and ground broke in 1960. On February 4th, 1962, the doors opened of the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. At the dedication, Mr. Thomas dedicated himself a 10-foot marble statue of St. Jude to stand out front of the hospital. He spoke these words: "To those of you who are Catholic, this is a symbol of our faith in St. Jude as patron saint of hopeless causes. To all of you of a different belief, it's still a pretty nice statue." In that first year, St. Jude's had 126 patients. Today, they have 7,800 patients annually. They've treated children from all 50 states and over 70 countries. The facility's grown to 2.5 million square feet, and they've never billed. No parent or child have ever received a bill for treatment, transportation, or lodging during the treatment. In the first year of treatment for some cancers can reach up to $500,000. The operating cost of the hospital is $1.6 million per day. They have over 1 million volunteers and 5 million donors, raising $600 million a year to operate the hospital. It's become one of the largest charitable organizations in the United States. Author Natalie Zamuda in Advertising Age magazine wrote and discussed some of their sponsors and their corporate partners. They're partners with Target, Domino's, Fox Sports, Regal Cinema, Expedia, among others. In 1995, the hospital received an anonymous donation from Dallas, Texas. It was a Monopoly play piece from the McDonald's food chain customer game. They were first confused, and then when they researched it, they found that the game piece was a $1 million winner. McDonald's had a clause at the time that winning game pieces could not be transferred to another person, but they waived that clause. And ever since 1995, McDonald's has been making $50,000 a year payments to St. Jude's. They are the largest child cancer research center in the United States. They focus on acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is the #1 cancer in juveniles and children. They also focus on sickle cell anemia. They're actually the first research center to cure sickle cell anemia using bone marrow transplants, and it's since become the standard of care. They also never fail to share their information. They have an open source, and their doctors and their researchers share with hospitals and treatment centers all over the world. When Mr. Thomas founded St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, his intention was to pay homage to St. Jude. He passed away on February 6, 1991 at the age of 79. In conclusion, when he opened the hospital, the survivability rate for childhood cancer was 20%. 53 years later, it's now 80%. The survivability rate for acute lymphoblastic leukemia in 1962 was 4%. Today, it's 94%. Mr. Thomas once said, "Success has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It's what you do for others." Based on that, I believe what he's done for society and the gifts he's given in life to children has made a difference, and he is very much deserving of our tribute. Thank you.